Hi, Jonathan York, Bay Financial Partners, looking at investment markets. Still a pretty interesting time out there in the US economy. The Dow Jones sort of setting record highs almost sort of every day now, and really sort of pushing on a pretty good rate. If you look at the US economy, earnings season was pretty good. Latest round of data coming out on non-farm payrolls again was pretty strong. Beat the street by around 20,000 jobs, and that sort of all points to a further rate increase by year end from the Fed. Also, as well, it's probably pointing to the Fed sort of starting to reduce its balance sheet. Obviously, it's sort of swelled after the sort of help over the last sort of 4 to 5 years, but that probably looks to be sort of taking place now and sort of on the September meeting. But certainly US equities, trading really pretty well. The Dow Jones setting sort of lifetime highs almost on a daily occurrence. Some pretty reasonable bids out there. And it's going to be very interesting to see how that sort of plays through. Because at the moment, stock markets don't look overvalued. And on the flip side, obviously, you've still got the Trump administration that sort of seems to be jumping out of one frying pan into another. President Trump is on annual leave at present, but still sort of can't leave the tweeting alone. Another sort of tirade overnight, when really he probably needs to be concentrating on some of his electoral sort of pledges. We see nothing on health reform, see nothing on tax reform, infrastructure spending has sort of fallen by the wayside, and really needs to sort of get these policies, at least sort of starting and get them on track, rather than just sort of worrying about the sort of churlish tweets that are sort of flying around the network. And sort of hovering in the background as well is potentially a sort of debt ceiling that will be sort of reached in around October time. And again, they really need to get some movement on that, because otherwise potentially the US could be in default in October. Oil trading pretty well, again sort of hovering just below that sort of $50 a barrel. It's just going to be interesting to see how that plays through in the last few months of the year. Some economists and analysts are still looking for sort of $60 as a year-end closing price. That may be a little bit tough to reach, but it's just going to be interesting to see how it sort of plays through. Eurozone as well, showing some pretty good signs of recovery out there. Data coming out again is pretty encouraging, pointing towards sort of growth. It's just going to be interesting to see if they can really build on that momentum now going into sort of 2018. Obviously, the one sort of problem child potentially is the UK with Brexit. Still again sort of light on details out there. It hasn't been a whole lot of further debate over the last sort of couple of weeks, and it's just going to be interesting now to see once the rubber really does hit the ground, see how that's going to impact on the UK economy. At present, the signs aren't good, and that has even raised some questions about a potential for a Brexit reverse. And so really sort of watch this space and see how that sort of plays through. Here in New Zealand, we've got the Reserve Bank meeting this week. No one's really expects any rate change. Rates were left on hold with the OCR at 1.75. It's just going to be very interesting to see the commentary that accompanies that. The Reserve Bank has been talking about no rate change here in New Zealand until 2019. But I say it's going to be pretty interesting if the US do put up rates again, as most people expect. by probably sort of mid 2018, rates will have crossed over from the US over New Zealand. So we'll have higher rates in the US than we will in New Zealand. That'll obviously put quite a bit of pressure on the currency. Politically, New Zealand's been obviously a pretty big week. You've got, the Greens appear to be in pretty much turmoil at present, with their sort of co-leader admitting to sort of benefit fraud, which should be a criminal charge, which would really disbar her from being a member of Parliament. She's refusing to stand down and sort of taking a bit of a blasé attitude towards it, which is obviously affecting some of the voters out there. Probably more importantly, Labor, which were sort of riding on the crest of a sort of honeymoon period with Jacinda Ardern. They've got a pact with Greens for the upcoming election, and they're being tarred with the same brush as well. So it's sort of very interesting to see how that will play through in the next sort of 7 to 8 days.